So now I'm in my studio in my backyard, and I'm a little bit warmer. I've got the work light on, and it's kind of awesome. Um, and it's it's really warm, and it made me think of sharing a thought that I've had that I've developed through basically just over the years of trying to use whenever I've needed somebody to help me with anything. I've tried to hire somebody from around the neighborhood who was, currently homeless, just because of the way that I was raised. And, like my mom's dad died, actually, he was a park bench bum in Portland because he, wouldn't quit drinking. And it's interesting because as I've been trying to, put myself together, I should say, like raise myself basically. I've learned so much about my parents because that's, an inevitable part of, I think, the journey to grow up is, you have to analyze things and you have to relate to things and you have to try to understand things that you may have found unforgivable or, basically just in order to reach exit velocity from, bitter bitch reality or, sleepwalking. You have to really look at things that you'd always just kind of they'd always been in the background, like, things that people had said over the years about your grandpa did this, or like my great grandpa came over by wagon from Pennsylvania or West Virginia. I forget. See, but anyway, came to first somewhere, I think in Oregon or California. But anyway, he ended up settling in Kent, in the Kent Valley, Kent, Washington. But he came by himself, and he had it basically settled. He and another guy had the town basically settled. In fact, they called it Titusville. His last name was Titus. They had it mostly settled by the time his wife and their kids joined him, and she booked passage on a steamer ship or something. And my mom always just said she came around the horn. I was just like, okay, she came around the horn. But then when I put that together with I'm a little slow. Then when my mind is just chilling, my mind's just doing its thing and I'm thinking, and I put it together with the fact that I know that he also died by either stepping or falling when going in front of a train. My mom always said that he did that because he was so distressed that they had changed the name of the town from Titusville to Kent after the city in Paris. She told us that that's why he killed himself. But I'm thinking maybe it's just because he couldn't stand his wife, because like he left her wherever that was. And, she had to come here on her own with some kids. Like she was pregnant when he left her. So she came here with a little kid and another kid, maybe two other kids. See, we didn't talk a lot about this kind of shit. But my dad's family, I don't think liked my mom very much. Now, she was married when they met, and she did run off and shack up with him and left her two kids home with her husband. So, that might have had something to do with it. Plus, I think, she was definitely, they called it manic depressive at the time. She must have been, the beginning stages of that, because when I was a baby, she was hospitalized several times and given shock treatment. So she must have been well nigh on to crazy because they got married in 1969. I was born in 1970. Anyway, I digress. Point is that her dad was apparently musically gifted. He could play any instrument and he could sing, and he basically by ear, and I don't think I have any musical ability, which is like a great tragedy to me because I love music more than anything. And when I'm singing, I'm happy without a doubt, or dancing, singing and dancing. I'm completely, totally blissfully happy. But I didn't grow up in an era where, at least in my, I was never told, yeah, you could be a singer or a dancer, that I would have gotten laughed out of town. And so I think I thought I wanted to be an anthropologist or a teacher or both. But anyway, my dad killed himself and I just kind of, just kind of shorted my brain out. I was in college and then I wasn't. And then, I think that's happened to a lot of people. Just got derailed. Next thing I knew, I was married, had a kid, so. I think that might have happened. Something similar to that might have happened to my grandpa, my mom's dad, when he ended up a bum in Oregon. Shouldn't say bum. I know that's probably bad, but he was my grandpa, so eat it. But anyway, so I've always had a massively open heart. Well, except for when I was a bitter bitch, but I've always had a really tender heart. And I've always had, I've always had a radar for people who are suffering. Whoever's at the bottom of the pecking order in the vicinity will be the person that I will feel and want to soothe, just want to put my arms around. Can't help it. Well, I shouldn't want to help it, but I have always wanted to try to not be that way because it just didn't seem like, it doesn't seem like it pays real well, which I wouldn't care about, except, geez, how are you supposed to take care of yourself, right? So we've kind of fucked ourselves a little bit because we haven't rewarded that, that kind of loving expression. And we really haven't, because they don't honor it. We don't value it. And so what you value is what you're going to get more of. And we value, big butts and, little gadgets and, flashy, blingy things and plasticky, fakey things and loud, aggressive people who tell us what to do and tell us what to think and tell us where to go and tell us what to believe and tell us who to hate. Not because we're stupid or bad, but because we don't know what else to do, because we were all raised to a certain extent like me, like not really allowed to develop into people, not able to develop into people because, you're brainwashed between 0 and 7, you're just soaking up everything. And then like the church says, if you give me a child until they're 7, a boy, give me a boy until the 7th birthday and I'll own him his whole life, basically. I always thought that was very ominous, but it's very true. I think that means that by the time we're 7, we're pretty much programmed, as far as our autonomic responses are concerned. That knowing that is what saved me from self-loathing when I had driven my life off into a really stanky, putrefying ditch that resembled very much my white trash childhood. I was horrified because I had been willfully going in the opposite direction my whole life. However, I didn't know. Nobody told me you can't just go in the opposite direction. You have to go in your direction. So I was just trudging along, thinking that it was going to work out because I was trying to do the right thing. I was trying to honor my marriage vows and, trying to do the right thing, even though I didn't know what the right thing was. And I certainly couldn't apply what felt right to me into the new family that I was in because their values are different. And so then you get more and more dysregulated the harder you try. And you get discombobulated within the family, no matter how hard you try, because, so much of communication is nonverbal. We're nonverbally communicating all the time. But we really only think about the verbal part, consciously. But our autonomic nervous system sets itself to everything else. It doesn't give a shit about our words, but that's what we're using. We're using our words to discombobulate ourselves and each other. And that's how we keep getting lost trying to find our way. As that amazing song said, I can't remember now if it's Jack Severetti or, I think it's Jack Severetti. Keep getting lost trying to find my way. That's, me and probably you. And it's because we're just reacting, to stimuli as it goes by. And we're kind of like that game where you hit shit with a hammer. And this is the thing is, I just don't want other people to have to wait until they're 47 to stop hating life. I hated life for a really long time. I loved the fuck out of my kids. And I was happy when I was younger, but I was also kind of like tone deaf and myopic. Not kind of, but very. I guess I was fake as fuck, but I didn't know I was fake. But I was enough in touch with myself that I would make little decisions here and there to keep me from becoming more of an asshole. I knew in high school that I didn't want to double down on the whole looks thing, because I don't know, that just seemed like a sure route to becoming a shallow dick, and also of being owned. And I kind of ended up being owned anyway, but I didn't know not to just listen to the words, and I listened to the words, and also I was fucking clueless, and I was scared. I got engaged 4 months after my dad killed himself. I was terrified because I didn't know what the fuck was going on in the world. Anyway, before that happened, I was 24. I was clueless before. And then when he killed himself, and it was just like, what the hell? He'd fallen off the wagon, and I probably should have known, but I didn't even think he was capable of that. But he had just recently started taking Prozac, and it had, he was one of those people who And the thing is that, his doctor didn't manage it well. That's just another thing. And that happens. The problem is that it shouldn't be up to doctors. It should be up to us, because the doctor knows you for how long? So that brings me to my main point, which is that all of this has been rattling around in my head, discombobulating me so much. Well, it all was until, I decided that I was going to stop taking all my medications because I wasn't happy anyway. And when I did, I thought, I just had one kind of coherent thought. It was the only thought I remember having, which was, I better figure out how to get happy, because otherwise I have to go back on medication or I'm going to die, and I can't do that to my kids because both my parents killed themselves. I can't do that to my kids. So you have to figure it out, you have to figure it out. And, I think there's this divine grace that floats along. And when you're open to it, it comes to you. Because as soon as I thought that, I thought, I remember being happy, it was a long time ago, but I remember being happy. Not only that, but I remember loving life. I did. I mean, I fucking loved life. Even as a little girl, my house was all chaotic. I was running around the neighborhood. I went to church. I got on a bus and went to church. It came and picked me up every Sunday. For years, between the time I was 4 and the time I was 9, I was the only person in my family. Everybody else hated religion, hated it. I mean, they were alcoholics. My mom was crazy. They weren't open, and she was agoraphobic. It was like, no, we weren't a church house. But I went to the library. They had all the little events, trick or treat, Halloween and all, all the little, and I loved, I couldn't wait to go to school. I was so excited. Oh my God. I was mad when my sister and brother went to school because, I thought that, and I remember when they had to go to, I remember what it was. They were doing some kind of, what was it what they were doing? They were going to something at school. I forget what it was. I don't know. I just remember I got really mad because I thought that they were sneaking out after I went to bed to go to school also. But anyway, the point is, I've always been a really social person just because I've always really liked people, like all people. And to be honest with you, that is the only way to be. I'm telling you. And I didn't ask to be that way, so I can say this. I didn't ask to have that put in me. It's just how I am. I just really like people. And so what that means is that my parents would move me at the beginning of summer, not because they meant to, but just because they were out of control. And I could make friends, because I thought everybody was cool, and when I was really little, my friends were, an older couple named George and Isabel. And they let me come to their house every day, and we played records, and she let me dress up in her clothes, and he played board games with me. It was amazing. They saved me for years. They were amazing, amazing people. And, maybe we saved each other because they didn't have any grandkids nearby. But in the library and, church, those people that came and picked me up. And so what that is that's proof that we've got this all backwards. I mean, we're communal people. We need each other. I would have been dead without that neighborhood. I would be crazy. I would probably be a juvenile delinquent. I joined a drill team when I was when I was reeling after, moving into a neighborhood that didn't want me. I was the only white girl for blocks and blocks and blocks. And, I was terrified, but I was also intrigued because I was like, damn, I don't know anything about any of this. And it was all way more interesting than anything that I had been around, because the kids I'd known were kind of milquetoast. I'm just going to be honest, because their dads were scary Vietnam veterans who they had this whole white trash thing going on. And it was kind of just strange. It was just kind of like one of my friends, they literally ate dog food. I'm not lying. Like at the table on a plate. I'm not kidding. That's okay. But I didn't. I was terrified. Plus, but I was raised to eat what I was offered. So anyway, the point is just that we all have fucked up shit. That's it. We all have fucked up shit. We're all just messed up. And not only that, but the people who hurt us the most look just like us. So we should get over our shit and stop blaming other people and getting mad at other people of other colors. Because if you can forgive your family, who probably have hurt you way worse than anybody else and, whatever, then you can forgive everybody else. I know, because I did. That's all. Just remember, I keep thinking I forgave my parents. And I would say that overall, they did the most to limit my potential. They didn't mean to. They were doing their best. But if my potential was limited, that's who limited it. And the people that have hurt me the most have, had the same color skin as me. But it doesn't matter, because I've used it all to make me more flexible or more resilient or more understanding or something. Now that I might take credit for. No, but that's not been easy. And I keep doing it because I keep thinking, okay, there's one more thing that I won't be judgy or preachy about because I did it. Now I know why we do that stupid shit. And so I just look at it that way now. When I know that when I catch myself doing something stupid. I saw a video, I think it was yesterday, Richard Grandin was talking about being mad at himself because he'd fallen into the same, hole, dating, broken picker syndrome is what I call it. And I relate because I just, I know that like there's a lot of work that we have to do to rewrite the programs in our head about what love looks like. That's all. And we can do it, but we need to know that we need to do it. We need to talk about it. We need to help each other with it, and we need to do it. Because you can't just come out of a fucked up childhood or, all these relationships that didn't work and think you're just going to magically or miraculously be able to figure it out. And so what a lot of us do is we attach ourselves to somebody who seems like they have it figured out, but they have it figured out for them, maybe. And you don't know their rules. And also you will end up making yourself crazy because you will be comparing yourself and you'll be trying to fit in and you'll be trying to do the right thing according to somebody else's rules. It just doesn't work. And that's why I had to walk home in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner, was because I just suddenly realized that I was tired of feeling invisible and half dead and miserable. I don't want to be miserable anymore because I know that only when I am absolutely alive and aware and engaged and interested am I going to see where I can be helpful, where I can be useful, where I can make a positive difference. Otherwise, I'm just going to be caught up in my own shit. Because I was caught up in my own shit. I was stuck in my own misery, in my own head. I was. And I knew I cared, but I didn't know. I cared about what I saw, but I didn't let myself see much because, we don't allow ourselves to see what we can't do anything about because we'll go crazy. We'll just give up. We'll sit down and just pee on ourselves. I've done that, but it's not good. It's not a good look. Don't do it. So, it was raining. It was a mile and a half. And, it's okay. I'm not whining. It's just I'm soaking wet. I don't have a key because I didn't get a key made because I'm an idiot. I lost it like 5 years ago. But I'm lucky because I have a studio in my backyard and I can go there and turn on the heat and talk to you. But there are a lot of people. This young gal that I gave some pumpkin bread to earlier, and she was homeless and her hands were bright red. And I lost it. And so that brings me back to my original point, which was that we have got to end homelessness right now, this winter. And we need to stop accepting excuses from ourselves. We just need to be done. And if you don't believe me, then do what I have done for years now. Go outside, stay outside, no matter how cold it is. I do that all winter. I freeze my ass off. I freeze my hands off. I freeze. I'm outside all the time because I do not want to forget until I figure out, because I'm just always studying on it and trying to figure out, what might work. And it's taken me 4.5 years to even come close to thinking that I even had a clue about how to do anything other than just be, pissed about it or whatever. But if you study something long enough, things will start to separate and coalesce into a system that you can then plug the problem into and run it through 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 and then throw things at it and tip it upside down and shake it, pour water down its back. And if it still stumbles along, then you know that you maybe have enough to say, here, maybe this might be a start. And then you just hope that there are people who will join you, like in the movie Bohemian Rhapsody when they're writing that song and they're putting their hands in and they're... I was floored when I watched that. I thought, that is how we do this. That is how we do this. That's how we fix this shit. Somebody just puts their hand in and says, how about this? And then we just keep building on it. But we have to talk, or we're not going to do that. And we can solve all of these problems because we're all fucking smart. We are. We've got genius in us. We just don't know it because we're too stressed. And we're too angry and we're too bitter and nothing good is coming out of us. And we're pissed off about all of this, that, and the other thing that's going on in our own lives, in our own houses, in our own body, and our own health, and blah, 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 blah. But we're taking it out on everybody else because if we really look at who's bothering us, well, then we might have to change our living situation or, leave somebody or, we might have to do some hard stuff. Ouch, my legs are dead. And so instead of doing the hard stuff, we're beating each other up. And that is incredibly stupid. Because this is the thing. Not only are we destroying each other, we're creating a bunch more assholes because nobody's nice when they're being treated like that. But also, we are killing ourselves. All that stress, all that anger, all that hate, it wears you down. It poisons you. And then also the other thing is playing a victim. Guess what happens when you play a victim? You become useless and incapable, and pretty soon you believe that you are. And then you don't know how to do anything. And then that's terror. And by that time, everybody will have moved on and grown bored with whatever it is you were whining about. Trust me. And the people who hurt you will die, and nobody else will care. Especially the more miserable they get. So if what you want is to be miserable, and if you want other people to be miserable, then we should just keep going in the same direction we've been going in, because obviously that's working real well. But if what you think instead is that maybe there's a better way, there could be, maybe, then we could just decide that it's worth trying to find that better way. It's worth trying to create it. Because I know that we can, because I have done that in my own life. Nothing really changed, and yet everything changed for me 4.5 years ago when it started. And it's just been one foot in front of the other the whole time. I've just been cleaning up my life because it was a fucking hot mess. And so I was a hot mess. And I understand why I got that way, but it was not, it was going to end very badly. And this is going to end very badly for us. And so we just have to start putting one foot in front of the other and doing the next right thing instead of the next asshole thing. Or we're going to get kicked off this planet. That's all there is to it. Now, this is usually the part where the tape runs out. My phone shuts off whenever I start talking about us getting kicked off the planet. But I just think that the solutions will come to us. Just come to us one by one by one by one by one. There's a whole bunch of us, and we're all creative and we're all clever. And if we're all playing for the same purpose, which is, the good of all life and the planet and good stuff, instead of some of us building bunkers and some of us, planning revolutions. And, we could all just decide to be on Team Human, and we could decide to try to redeem ourselves, redeem our good name as human beings. Because when we're not broken, we're noble, as Jordan Peterson says. And I think we're fucking amazing. I really do. I just don't understand. I mean, I think people are fucking incredible. Not just the babies. I love the babies, little fat-faced babies. Oh my God. But all of us, every single one of us, even the so-called depraved and the worst, they are a product of this system just as much as anybody else is. And they need us to be better so that we will stop creating people who can't live in society. And we need to rise above our problems so that we can see how ridiculous things like our education, quote unquote, education system is, and our privatization of penal institutions. What? Okay, don't get me started. That's slavery. Hello? I'm just saying. Anyway. I'm not afraid to say the things that are going to get me in trouble. It's just that I don't want to say them before I've had a chance to say some of the other stuff because, I know I'm going to get in trouble. I don't care. The reason I don't care is because I brought kids into this world. That's why. I brought actual human beings into this world. And I raised them to be good and kind and decent. I didn't raise them to be as creative and imaginative and brave as they could be, but they'll get there. But I did raise them to be good, kind, decent people. And there's no place for them in this world, for one thing. And for another thing, I found my way out of my own pain and suffering by thinking about the fact that if I made my way out, I could help other people make their way out. And I've had to walk past a lot of people who are hurting, and it's killed me. So for those reasons, and for the fact that I know, because I've done a lot of research, I know that we're in big trouble if we don't change. So for all those reasons, I don't care if this is unpopular. I don't care if people are offended. I don't care. I really don't, because I have been offended many, many, many times, and I've learned every time. where I was erring, where I was wrong, where I was inadequate, where I was falling down on the job of being the best human I could be. And there's no excuse for being less than everything that you can be, especially when the world is careening out of control. That's all there is to it. And that's all it takes. That's the thing. That's all it takes. All it would take is for us all to decide. Some people aren't going to be able to decide. That's okay. We'll get to them. It's kind of a ripple. It's kind of like one of those row your boat things. That's what it is. It's like row your boat. So the first row of row your boaters needs to step up and start rowing. And then we'll start collecting people as we go. Pretty soon we'll all be singing row your boat, and it will sound fucking amazing. It really will. It'll be like a crescendo. And if you can imagine 8 billion people singing row your boat in unison, we'll have to sing in other languages or something. I don't know. But the point is, like, I've seen this. I see this. This is what I see in my head when I think about us. I think about this shit. And I want you to see it too. Because then we can do it. We can start stacking our hands and we can figure out how to make something so epic as that performance that Queen did. So anyway, it's just love, man. That's it. Let's just love each other. Let's take care of our kids. Let's start thinking about how we can get better. Not just how we were wronged. Or how we can get even, or how we can get some, or how we can get over, or I don't even care, how we can get laid. It doesn't matter. None of that matters, because we're, the power grid's going to fall. There's bad shit's coming. So what I think that if we started right now to build communities, local communities through community centers, or I have some really good business ideas that, that would incorporate communities, and it would, like row your boat, it would, on a rolling basis, it would pick people up, as different things. I need to make another video, but basically it's just an equal partnership, kind of like a co-op, like kind of how REI started out. And, it's based on community, because we need to be more locally minded, and especially because there's some, things that are going to happen in the world, on the planet, that we're not going to be able to stop. And I think that we need to be as prepared as we can possibly be. Well, what people are doing right now is they're just preparing their own selves. And that's okay. I understand why, but that's not the highest ideal. And until we're all, or a lot of us, are operating at our highest ideal. See, this is the thing. If we pull our heads out of our own asses, we start caring about each other, and we start working together, then we will actually raise our own frequency, our own vibration will become more harmonious with the planet anyway, and we might not get kicked off. We might stop getting our ass kicked so bad, because we're causing a lot of the things that are gonna, we just are. I think that we must sound like a fucking cacophony to the rest of the planet, People down in Zimbabwe, and they're cutting down trees just so that they can make an epic bongo drum, and they're just trying to do their thing, and we're just fucking up the electric slide for everybody. We gotta stop. We have to restore our dignity. We have to find honor again, integrity, because otherwise we're just going to destroy ourselves. And I know this absolutely firsthand, because that's exactly where I was 5 years ago. I was literally a piece of shit, inside and out, and I knew it. I hated myself, and I was trying to destroy myself, because it's not complicated. That's all we're doing. We're self-destructive. We're in a shame death spiral. And it only ends one way, unless we decide that we're better than that. And I decided I was better than that. I remembered that I was better than that. And I remembered that I like people. And there you go. And that was done. The misery was over. Every time I started to feel sorry for myself, I just remembered that giving up was not an option. So I just stopped crying quicker. I just stopped feeling sorry for myself quicker. I thought, you're not done, right? Or actually, I'm not that nice to each other to myself when I'm like that. Are you done? Are you just going to sit there and cry? No? Then get the fuck up. What are you wasting time for? There's people out there that are suffering. Get on with it. If you're going to do it, get on with it. just do it. And it's still taken me almost 5 years because I was very discombobulated. I had lost all my sovereignty. I really had. I had no voice. Even in my own head, I didn't have a voice. Well, I did have a voice. I had a whole bunch of voices, but they weren't helping. They were telling me all of the wrong things at all the wrong times and arguing with each other all the time. They weren't telling me to kill anybody, though, so I was good, but they were telling me to date some people. Yeah, that was bad. But anyway, point is, this all makes a lot of sense from a biological point of view and perspective. It just does. From a biological point of view, everything that's happening makes all kinds of sense. And everything that has happened makes all kinds of sense. And the question is what are we going to do with it? Right now, what we're doing is we're making it worse. We're making more destruction and division with our divisive past and our hurtful past. We're causing more hurt. That's not the right way. I mean, I don't need to tell you that. Mr. Rogers told you that. This is not complicated. We learned this shit in preschool or kindergarten. We did. We would never have been allowed to act like this in kindergarten. And that's all you need to know right there. If your kindergarten teacher wouldn't let you get away with it, then you shouldn't be doing it. Well, unless you went to Catholic school, and then all bets are off because, damn, those nuns were mean. I know my generation, we were raised by kids who went to Catholic school. Pretty is as pretty does, and, all that shit. Yeah, we were not. You want to know why there's sort of an echo of, a resounding silence from my generation, kind of really, of people who have the courage of their convictions is because we're figuring it out. That's why. It's because, damn, we were just stumbling along watching Pretty in Pink and shit and not knowing, what the hell was going on, and like everybody else, trying to avoid our pissed off dads or whatever it was that we were doing, and next thing we knew, we were married and we had all these responsibilities, or we might be in jobs and we were like, and we knew we were full of shit because we didn't really have an identity when we started making decisions that shaped our life. So then our lives were uncomfortable and itchy and angsty, and we weren't taught good communication at all. Oh God, that's a joke to even say it like that, but we weren't taught good communication. What we were taught is to sit down and shut up and to tell bill collectors our parents weren't home, and, to not tell daddy what mommy said, or, blah, 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 blah. The point is, none of that is serving us well now, because we're applying all of that shit to new situations and fucking those up just like the old situations were fucked up. So instead, what we could do is we could say, okay, that was all fucked up. Everybody's sorry. Let's just reset and not do the stupid shit anymore. Is that so hard? Is that hard? I don't know. You're going to have to tell me. Let me know. Tell me in the comments. Is that too hard? I think if we did that, we'd be good. Happy Thanksgiving.